What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Psychedelic Light Show review. I'm your host, Steve Pavlovsky. I'm here with my co-host, Chris Samardizch, and this is episode 11, and we got a really cool, unique show this time around. We have a vintage documentary from 1998 of the Allman Brothers Light Show that was shot at Darien Lakes. So this is some really cool footage that hasn't been seen in a long time, and Chris is going to tell us some more about it. And I'm really excited to show this to you guys because this is quite special.
Well, it's never been seen until now, until we created this show, and the audience, my friends that filmed it, which is Brian Orzell did the cinematography stuff, and Stacey Orzell, his wife, is the host on the show. So why don't we check it out? Talk about it later.
All right, cool. All right, let's hit play.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Stacey Orzell, volunteering for the Brotherhood of Light here at the Allman Brothers show at Darien Lakes up in New York, just outside of Buffalo. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We're standing right on stage. We're getting ready for a rockin' show tonight. Over here we have the Dickey Zone, where Joe Dan is getting some of the guitars together. Always working hard. Behind him is the Brotherhood of Light rig, where they have a projector and some of the overheads that are used to project their show. Right here we have Greg's organ, where he hits the keys. You also see on stage the drum kit. Looks like we have something extra up front tonight. I'm not exactly sure who the opening act is. A good percussion setup indeed. And then up top we have the full drum rig itself, which Red Dog is still responsible for, and we're proud of that. We're going to be taking a minute with Chris Samardizch and Pete Rabinowitz of the Brotherhood of Light. That'll fill us in on a lot more of these details. Thank you. All right, here we are in front of the actual video rig that the Liquid Light Show comes from. I'm standing here with Chris Samardizch. Hey, Chris.
How you doing?
And Pete Rabinowitz.
How do you do?
Both responsible for the lovely light show. This is kind of a complicated setup. It's a really big rig. Chris, can you tell us how the screens all come together?
Yeah, why don't we get the camera and point it towards the screen. I'll show you how we rig this stuff up. And then we'll get to the... Are you ready? Okay. Behind me here is we've got a screen, and we got a half-ton chain motor, which is at the top of these banners. You can see it up there, and those are one-by-one trusses, which are held with span sets and safety cables. And they're hooked to rigging up in the ceiling. Can you see that in the camera there? And that's hooked around the beams, and there's 4 points that support the screen. One on this end, one at the joint right there. Keep going over to your right with the camera. And there's 2 more points on the other side. So just keep going over there. Okay, and there you can see those points over there. So, all right, the screen itself is a spandex material, and it has a reflective quality to it. And it's a 18 by 40 foot screen. We also have a 60 by 20 foot screen, and we have a wind screen, which is made out of a 60% material. It's white, and it's 20 by 40. So that pretty much covers that. All right, now I should...
A little. Man acting in mineral mode. Here we have Pete Rabinowitz getting ready for tonight's show. He's putting on some of the blue liquid that he uses. He'll be telling us the details of how that all comes together in just a minute. He uses a special combination of a mineral oil mixed with various colors. It's truly an art. Pete, tell us a little about your glass.
Well, 2 of these plates are the original plates from the Fillmore West 1969 light show. And these are the tools that were used back then, and we're using the same thing today because there's nothing better. And it's really an old art that started in 1966, I believe with Bill Ham on the Stanford College campus. And a couple of hippies got together to create a visual sensation while their buddies were doing psychedelic music. And so they took the clock faces off the walls. These are actually real clock faces that you look through and stare through in 7th period, wondering when you're going to get out of this class. And the beauty of these is there's no nipple or seam in the glass. They're slumped with heat. So optically, they're the best thing around to do what we're doing. And what I do is I take a layer of mineral oil and water and put it underneath in a 15-inch plate, and then I take a 12-inch plate, so I have room for my fingers to maneuver, and put this on top, like so. And the percussive value comes from moving the plate up and down with the liquids in between. And colors then get put on top. Oil colors here, water colors in there. Oil and vinegar don't mix, as we know. So that's basically the principle we're working with here.
Could we take a look at that mineral oil? Is there anything special about it? Is it just standard?
Squib, but lately I've been using whatever is a USP because it's a government standard as for thickness and consistency, and I'm finding it works okay. Some are a little lighter than others, but generally it's all the same stuff. The blue is actually Stangy food coloring from 1969, the old Brotherhood stash, and a mixture of some of the stuff that my father has given me, which is newer sort of industrial grade blue #1. My father's in the dye business, and we'll get into that later, kind of how I got into all this. And then my oil dyes are used for, I use oil-soluble colors for the oil, like what you dye a telephone with. If you have a red telephone at home, you use red oil dye. And
Do you generally stick with the primary colors, and then the mixes is how we see everything else that comes together?
I start with a blue base, and I can get every color under the rainbow after that. Because the white of the oil shows through, so I can have any color on top, and that will be accentuated.
What's your favorite color bubble?
Blue. Gotta be blue.
Thank you, Pete. That was a very good opening segment. We're going to go a little bit behind the scenes and see how this all comes together, and you'll tell us a little bit more about the equipment making it happen. He'll give you the cue.
Okay, well, now that we've got the colors in the plates, now that we've got the colors in the plates, or base color actually, the basic principle here is if you can get the camera actually to zoom in a little bit, there you go. And by going up and down, you'll notice that the white bubbles and the blue water are mixing together and moving about. And as the music is playing, if you have any meter at all, you can make this move to how the music is sounding. Now this is your basic school overhead, but we have metal halide bulbs in here, so it's much brighter. And the light travels through the plates, over to this lens right here, to this mirror, bounces off here, and goes right to the screen. And I can point these in any direction I want. And basically, it's a very simple process. The trick is being in beat to the music and creating top plate colors and making sure that all your colors are clear.
Which songs do you find work especially good with the liquids? Which songs do you find work especially good with the liquids, Pete?
A song like Elizabeth Reed, mostly jam songs. Anything like True Gravity, Liz Reed. What's the other one we do? Let's see, I gotta think.
You see a lot of liquids in Jessica.
Jessica, Whipping Post. Any song that they tend to really jam out on a long time that's less of a shuffle tune or a structured tune, say like One Way Out or Stormy Monday and slow blues songs are very good for very slow liquids. Jessica is very good for very fast pulsating liquids. So they're two different types of.
1, 2, or 3 colors. How does that work with choosing one? Maybe in Blue Sky, I always see the blue bubbles, but during Liz Reed.
Well,
is
that's
gray.
because I don't want to shoot my whole wad at once. So what I start to, well, we don't want to word it that way. I don't want to blow the whole deal at once, so I want to build as the show builds, because at the end of the show, I want everything as complete as possible. So in the beginning, I'll start out with just blue, and then maybe during the second song, say maybe a Backward All Begins, which is another good jam song, I'll add a red oil and a yellow water to this plate. And I'll just work on that one. Then we'll go to a stormy Monday, and I'll add a scarlet oil and a red water. So you, on this plate, and I'll jam with that. And then we'll get to Elizabeth Reed, and I'll use both plates, and we'll get all the colors in the rainbow up on the screen at the same time towards the end of the show.
How do you operate two stations?
I work not very easily. You're using muscles that you really don't have. So I'm sort of training myself how to do that. Chris also comes up and helps out during Liz Reed, or, if I'm having trouble, he'll come up and run a plate. Yeah, we'll do a double jam, which looks really good. And but sometimes he's real busy trying to do something down here with the video, because this is very all-consuming. And then Chris can tell you about the video. So that's sort of a lead-in.
Before we step over there, I just was curious if you could tell us exactly the equipment. What type of a projector is
What we have is an Elmo 575-watt metal halide overhead projector, which is basically a standard school overhead, but zooped-up metal halide bulb in it to make it very bright, because we're fighting a lot of park cans and bright lights. And like I told you before, these are just standard clock faces, say 1965, GE, Seth Thomas, West clocks, And the oil dyes are, my father manufactured dye chemicals in these from 1947 to about 1980. And I worked in the dye factory, and when I started, I'll get to that when we talk about how I started the whole thing. But it's basically oil-soluble dyes and food coloring and water-soluble dyes mixed together to create the entire package.
Thank you, Pete.
You got it.
Okay, I'll let you take it. You sort of tore through the whole thing.
Okay, so you're
discuss
going to just
the
follow me,
tapes.
Brian? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right, this is Chris Samardizch with the Brotherhood of Light, and he's going to tell us how things come together with the video technical aspects. Chris?
This is my latest rig in 1998, and what we got here is we've got 5 roll-in video decks and 2 Panasonic digital mixers, and then these are preview monitors of each. This mixer goes to this monitor, and this mixer goes to this monitor. Now, if you were to collate that to the screen, this mixer 1 is the center projector, which I don't know if you can see it, but it's hanging up here in a truss, and it hits the center of the video screen out there, or the light show screen. Okay, that's like a centerpiece. And then this side one, which is mixer 2, uses this projector and another projector on the other side, which hits both sides of the screen. So with the 3 different projectors, we completely fill the screen with video images. So that's the way that works. Now, back when Pete and I started out, we didn't have the luxury of having video projectors. We were using slide projectors. And I still have slides, which are over here, from that era. And what I've done is I'm using this machine, which is a 6th input, and that's a Rasterizer, so low resolution. And that slide that was on the monitor, back when we started, but they were using 16 millimeter film and slide projectors. But to upgrade, what I'm doing today is I transfer these slides. And for instance, this particular slide I'm putting on right here is an original slide from this light show I worked at in the 60s. It's got like some guns and marijuana plants and old pipes and stuff. And I even have some of the original stuff that I used 25 years ago when I was doing light shows with a friend of mine in the Bay Area, before I was in the Brotherhood of Light. But so this day and age, the other thing we also use is this camera right out here, right behind Pete. And that's just an old high-8 camera that I shoot a lot of my footage with. And it comes down into here, and I just switch over to here. And if you look right here, we got the video feed. And this would be right where Dickie Betts, right here on the stage, is right where Dickie Betts would be playing his guitar. And I get that perfect guitar shot right here, which then would come out on the screen. And I have one of each guitar player on each side of the screen. So if you've seen that look. Now, here's the tapes we use. And we decided to transfer all the material that we have and create new material on VHS because it's the easiest format to use and it's the easiest format to replay. And if you were a technical video person, we just are doing roll-in. This is similar to a news station, like a news show, where the band plays a song. Okay, for instance, let's just find a grouping here. Well, here, this is No One Left to Run With, which we'll talk about. That's 4 tapes, and I have them labeled. So these 2 go into number 1 mixer, and these 2 go into number. As a team effort is, I'm mixing this video, and I design this stuff. Like, for instance, this one way out shot, we'll put it up on the screen here. You know, if Pete was going to do liquids, it's got a lot of dark colors in it. He could do liquids around that, and it has that tunnel vision look, and I'd be pounding that in and out of like maybe a live shot of Dickie. I'd put it in a square wipe, transfer like that, and I'd be putting Dickie where that door is, playing his guitar, and Pete could be doing liquids around that. So basically, I design a lot of things to fit in with the Liquid Light Show. I'm not putting stuff up on the screen just as a big, massive screen look. I'm trying to make stuff that goes with the liquids. So for instance, the reason I'd have so many of these tapes here is the Allman Brothers are doing 3 different sets these days. So they've got, like, I got a lot of different stuff that's just Allman Brother logos, album covers, and stuff like that. I've got, there'll be High Falls back in there. It's Betty Boops from Mean Woman Blues. This stuff's like Stormy Monday, Hot Lana, the Eagles, the American Indian, the Indian art. All this stuff is for a Blue Sky. This is Dreams, these galaxies and stuff. That all goes for Dreams. This goes for True Gravity. And some of these shots like these, which are called Spectral Illusion, they're made by a guy named Sylvan Rife. His stuff can be blended in with either one of these songs. So I sometimes use the same material on one night. In different nights for different songs. This is the whole Elizabeth Reed area right in here. And this is Jessica, Sailin' Devil Sea, One Way Out's over there, Whipping Post. They're all in this thing. So I have specified tapes to go for specified songs. And, as you will see probably on some video, hopefully with this clip of the live show, how that works. So anyway, it pretty much covers it. A lot of times, these camera crews that are here that have the in-house camera systems will supply us with a video feed. I also use that as the 6th input. And I would have him just up here on number 3. I just hit that, and that would give me the house feed. But I'm not using them tonight. But this gives me that deck. This gives me the slide. And it's just a bump switcher. So anyway, and then at the end of the night, one of the technical things is that all this stuff, all the cords roll up and fit inside the case. The doors that he's projecting off of become the doors that close up on this case. This hamper holds all our screens. All the videotapes fit inside this box. The mixers. Everything is we're using those cases that he stands on. The overhead projectors go in. So we virtually are using all the equipment that we store ourselves in, we use as a projection booth and stands to hold our equipment in. So we've kind of learned how to do that and build it so that we were able to take it down, really fast. It takes about 25 minutes for this whole thing to break down, and we're off the stage at the end of the night. So.
Do you find the setup time is about the same? I'm sure breaking down is a little bit quicker.
No, the setup takes a lot longer, unfortunately.
Overall, how long does the setup take when you roll into a new location by the time you're off the stage for a break?
Well, we start at 10 in the morning, and it takes Pete and I an hour to do 2 hours to do the screen and hang the projector. And then we roll the cases in, another hour to set up all the equipment in this configuration, and then another hour to rewind all the tapes, and then it takes Pete probably how long does it take to set up your plates?
Oh, about 5 minutes.
But then he has to wash his plates after each show
After
too.
each show, I wash the plates every night because I like fresh colors the next day. Works the best way. There are ways to sort of save the colors in bottles, but it's a real pain in the ass.
So he mixes the plates fresh every night for the show. So he just mixed those when we were here earlier. So anyway, that's pretty much covers it. And, it's a little simpler than it probably appears on the screen, but.
Well, thank you very much for an in-depth look at the technical aspects of how the Brotherhood of Light make the visual magic happen night by night, show by show. And there are no two shows the same. I can attest to that as a witness, and they're all really great.
All right. Wow. That was pretty cool.
Oh.
That's awesome, Chris. I can't believe all that cool stuff that we saw. And man, that is just vintage, and it really speaks of the era. It's pretty cool. So tell me, how'd you get set up with these people? How did this come about? And tell me more about the filmmakers, because they seem pretty cool. And
really great people. I call them a classic rock family. They got a couple kids now, and they love Tom Petty and the Allman Brothers and all that kind of Leonard Skinner and Grateful Dead. So they're really great people, great music lovers. So this is a great story. So Stacey was married to Brian. They were living out in Long Island, and she was doing photography for like cruise ships and tourists and stuff like that. That kind of those kind of pictures, like wedding. She was a wedding photographer. Anyway, she took this class at some college out there in Long Island, and it was a video editing class. So she did this video called Ripple, which was a Grateful Dead Ripple song. It was a bunch of archive footage that you could get off television back then
of the Dead.
Of the Dead, yeah, and different stuff. And she edited it together to show her editing skills. So apparently, I was using video projectors, which we saw in our last video. Now at this point, and this was in, I believe it was 97 when she showed up at the Beacon, and I guess she met the manager or somebody outside, because it was a big lineup, and the guest list at backstage, and she handed Kirk West, the manager, this tape and said, "Hey, give this to the light show guy. Maybe, I'm going to show my work." Right.
Okay.
So they brought it to me, and I went through it. I looked at the tape, and I queued it up to this part where the Dead were playing live, because I was like, well, if Warren and Woody do this jam, this St. Stephen or Love Light jam, I'll pop that tape in and throw it. And so lo and behold, that night they're in the audience, and boom, they go into the jam. So I play the tape, and Stacey and Brian are sitting in the audience, and she's like, "Oh my God, there's my
that's awesome.
There's my video."
Yeah. Oh man, that must be so cool for them to just look up there and see that, and the serendipity of it happening that night is really cool.
Yeah, and luckily I queued it up and I edited it through. I had enough time before the show to do that. So to make a long story short, so then she became friends with us, and sort of won her way in as a photographer of the Allman Brothers, and she ended up doing the cover. She did an album cover, and she also did which was called Peeking at the Beacon, and I think she coined that phrase. I think she actually coined that phrase.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And then she also did the album, the cover for the DVD that was filmed at the Beacon in 2003. So she became part of the Allman Brother artistic family, and
oh wow,
they came out and volunteered and did that shoot with us, and
that's so awesome.
They saw this show, the second or third show we did, 2 months ago, and they sent us that video, which I had never seen. Yeah.
Oh wow, so you never saw it actually until?
I've never seen it. No.
Oh wow. That's really cool of her to send that. Yeah. And so cool for, somebody being like a fan of the band. That's like a great story of being a fan to suddenly becoming involved and become part of family and all that. Right. I got to say of speaking of videotapes, I think the highlight quote of this was something where you said that videotape is the easiest way to do this, or something to that extent. I forget the wording, but that is some 1998 language right there.
Well, compared to slides, it's probably a lot easier.
Yeah,
because I could at least I could load a videotape in immediately, and it would show up on the screen, opposed to like having a slide projectors hanging in the truss in this big box, and hitting some kind of button that made them advance,
Yeah,
and hope
yeah.
they don't get jammed in this,
Right.
and get
So
out of
even
sequence, so
sure.
so it was, and it, but it was always a battle to get brighter projectors.
Yeah.
That was one of our issues that we had during that decade.
Yeah. But you guys, so you had, I mean, with the videotape, so you had quite a bit of them, and you guys would have to rewind all of those every night, right? Did you guys have like a machine or anything like that for them, or did you just rewind them one at a time?
No. Okay. Yeah. That's a great question. So I don't know if it was clear on the video, but so I have two mixers, one for the center projector and two for the sides. And I do that mirrored side thing,
Yeah, yeah.
and then one in the center.
Okay.
So I had 4 videotapes for every song,
Okay.
as you saw there, right? So I'd push, so the song would end, and I'd have that little Rasterizer slide thing, and I'd have the logo up there, and on a bang switcher, and then I'd load the videotapes in, and then the next song would start, and I'd mix them in.
Right.
So I'd
right.
mix the two in the center and the 2 on the side, so I could do double animation going. Like
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah.
But okay, the really complicated part of this whole thing is, so when I got to start making start to use videotape, like let's say you got a video that was like a rocket taking off and then space and then landing on the moon, and it doesn't really go to a song, because it's a story or
Right. Yeah.
So I would have to just take the space part and loop it. So I'd loop it for like 4 minutes, and then I'd loop each one of those tapes is at least an hour of the same visual.
Oh, it's the same visual. So you don't necessarily have to rewind every single one.
Well, I have the little cheesy
Good.
Radio Shack rewinder, and part of the deal was rewinding tapes for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Put it in there and
man.
go for a minute,
Yeah.
and then pull it out. And I know that I'm in that first hour of the tape.
Yeah.
I got like, eternal video for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because compared to what came before that, I mean, that really was, you don't have to deal with, or you don't got to deal with film loops. You can get what you want, on command, even though it is still, what seems archaic and clunky now. But for that time, yeah, that was
Right.
yeah,
So I
that was
made
pretty
all this
efficient.
video.
Yeah.
I would sit there with a mixer at home, and I'd take the album cover, and then I'd maybe do some background and dodge it, and make stuff fade in and out. And then I would loop that. Oh, I do it on Super S video, and then I make it on VHS, and then I record it over and over and over, those 5-minute loops. And I'd have, I'd have like an hour worth of video, and then that would be a centerpiece, let's say, or a side piece.
That's crazy.
And
That's awesome.
how I did it. Yeah, that's how I did it.
Yeah. So tell me, how'd you guys get to that point? Because by this point, you're already doing like a hybrid with like 2 HMI projectors, and you got analog stuff, but then you're also dealing with digital projectors and video mixers. Like, what was the evolution up to that point? Because you started with the Allman Brothers, what, in 90 or?
Yeah, 1990.
1990, right.
It was all analog. Everything was analog. We had like the Brotherhood machines, which are the 1,000 waters pumped up, and then we had
the ones that you've seen. Yeah.
Then in 91, we actually had this 9 projectors that hung in the truss and a piece of trussing, and they were mounted in there, and the cabling all came down, and I ran them on a computer system, and then I actually made a handmade system to mix with, which I liked a lot better because I could jam with it more.
Yeah. So what happens? What happens when a slide gets stuck and it's up there? It's just that's it for until that projector's done until it comes back down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had shows completely scramble, and like just like during the jam part, just like turn it on and let everything go on the screen like crazy.
Oh shit!
Because the show scrambled, and there's nothing I could do. It was just it was just a mess,
Oh man!
It happened like twice to me.
Yeah.
The other thing was I ended up so during this Live at Great Woods, which is released now, it's a video that Bert has re-released, the Allman Brothers manager.
Okay.
So if you watch that, you'll see like, a blues song. There's all Elizabeth Reed, and you'll see all these songs. And then at the very end, you'll see Revival. And one of the slides jams.
Oh, really?
You get out of sync because it was this 3-step animation that went this kind of thing.
Oh, so you just yeah.
It was kind of like I was doing kind of like a moire, It was a Murray song, you know. So it was the last song and it jammed. And so you'll
Oh,
see
man.
like it's a wrong thing going, like everything's going in a circle and one of them's a triangle going do do.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's it's
Yeah.
you know, and I was watching it recently because they're shown on YouTube, and I was like, which song is it? I thought it was Jessica. No, and Jessica didn't jam, and then it was Revival. So anyway,
So once you get you know, definitely the impetus for getting digital projectors in that
Okay.
situation is, you know, high. And so when did you get the digital projectors, and how'd you get set up with them?
So 94, we still were using the slide projectors. We had hotshot kits and Actigraphic 4s that were brighter. And we did that whole Horde tour. And then we ended up doing this corporate. And it was for Gateway Computers. And the video crew that was there was mixing with, you know, their video equipment. I realized I got to go to video. I cannot longer stay analog. You know, I got to stay, you know, I'm just a professional band. This is big time touring. So this guy, Craig Matthews, was a rep for Sharp, and Sharp invented the LCD screens, the LCD panels that are inside the projectors.
Like what the little,
that company was, and so they came out with this.
So for people who probably don't, you know the way a projector works, it's an actual little LCD screen that's translucent, similar to your LCD screen on your computer or whatever, but it's just really, really tiny, and then it projects through that. Yeah.
Right. So they came up with this projector. It was called the 35U, and it was about $3,000 to $3,500. I can't remember. And it was like about as bright as a slide projector. But, you know, and you could I hung it in the truss. I hung it actually on top. I put it on top of the slide projector truss, and I shot it in the middle, and I was able to have an animation in the middle. And then Panasonic came up with these MX12 mixers, these digital mixers.
That's a classic mixer.
Two channel mixer, and I bought one of those. So I had the centerpiece. Then the following year, I bought two more to put them on the side, and I bought another MX12 mixer. And so now I have that, what I was talking about earlier. I have the side through things with the mirrored projectors, and then the one in the center, which is hanging up in the truss.
Right.
And the two just sitting on the side of the stage on top of, like, we had these towers. But in that video, it's actually sitting on top of my rack where all my mixers are. And I have to load these videotapes in and out. And each one, there's a reason there's so many of them, because each one was for each different song.
Right.
You know, so
So what about what was that little thing though? The little the rasterizer, the little mini visual presenter for the slides. That was pretty cool. I've never seen one of those before.
It's called a Rasterops, and it's just basically a little thing that's you saw it in the picture. It's about this tall. It's about this tall.
Yeah, it's like a cute little
about that big
visual presenter.
And you just it has a little lens focus. You just put a slide in it, and you just run it into your system. And that slide is duplicated now on the screen. So all the slides I had this mini box full of slides that I could do. I think I used it primarily for the center, for like logos and stuff.
Yeah, like logo or something. Yeah,
floater slides, or like a mushroom or something that was like a key thing for the concept of the song or show.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, you know, then eventually we got rid of that, and we got the MX50.
Yeah.
Which was a 5-channel mixer, and we were, you know, and I had like a DVD. Well, then we went to DVD.
Yeah, you guys eventually. Yeah, I'm sure. When I was going to ask, when did you move to DVDs?
So we started out in video in 96, and then in 2000 we got the presenter, which we talked about earlier, and other shows, and then we also went to DVD at that point. Right. And what I also did was invented. Pete, he didn't invent the presenter, but he presented liquids through a presenter. Right. The first guy who ever did it. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't really seen anybody doing it before then.
Okay. Yeah. And then what I did was I had Stacey, the same woman we were talking about earlier, the photographer. She was in the AV business at that point. Yeah. She was like a salesperson for a company out in Long Island. So she sold me 4 Panasonic players. And what these Panasonic players did was they had a remote control, and they could work through remote control. And they also you could control them in the front with your hands. Like you could stop them, pause them, advanced tracks.
Yeah.
You know, they were, and so I burnt 4 DVDs at like 30 tracks each or something. So the first track is the first song, and the second track is so I could go and, oh, they're going to do One Way Out. That's song 6. I could, with one remote, hit all 4 of them and go boom, boom, boom. Song 6, go, bam.
Right. And you get
And I'd have that song running, and then like, they're going to do Elizabeth Reed. That's song 12. Boom, boom, go to 12. Bam, go.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'd have to load tapes. I could just do it with the remote control. It's already pre-built.
The Allman Brothers played with set lists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were not the same every night.
Right. It was different set list every night, but you did get a set list before they
Pretty
played.
much with when we were putting the albums out, and this is common with most bands, you get locked into a set because you got to play your classics.
Mm-hmm.
You got to play, the audience wants that. You got to play 3 things from the new record.
Right.
You play 1 thing from the old record you just put out last year. And then you've got to play your whipping post for the encore. So the sets kind of get locked in.
Right. So you kind of, it's got to flow.
When you're creating a new record, you get in, they get locked in. But then when Dickie left and Warren came in and they didn't really make a record, they just started playing whatever they wanted.
Right.
And that's when it totally changed. And it was like, here's your set.
Right.
Go.
Yeah.
So,
going with the real quick about the visual presenter, I thought Steve Goldsmith used them in the 90s, or did he start using them in the 2000s? I thought I saw some of those Maritime Hall images of him using one, but I'm not really sure.
No, we never used it in Maritime.
No? Oh, all right.
No, never used it.
So to go back to the liquids, so that was some pretty cool stuff that Pete was talking about. And, we talked about this when we did the liquids episode with, Brotherhood of Light's style was pretty, a little different than what a lot of other people might do. It seems like there's a lot of, just at first, like a lot of clear oil, no alcohol in the mixture at first. And, you mentioned that you're looking for like solid shapes, stuff that's going to like really cut through, with high contrast, it's going to cut through, the stage lighting, or at least compete with it. And,
Right. We like to paint with our liquids, we just don't want to do like a puddle plate, which just looks like a goo going like an amoeba. I mean, that's cool. I mean, people do that. And that's, if you go really fast with one of our plates, it'll look like that. But we like to, cruise and blow out and put fingers and, make things happen. And when 2 guys going in and outside of each other, and one guy's maybe doing a rhythm, the other guy's doing a lead, different parts of the music. So we like to interpret more and have shapes, and forms and really, really bright colors, and not muddy colors at all. We like really, really bright contrasting colors. So I'm just in generalizing what I think it looks like.
Yeah. And then, but you would build them up over time, and eventually, Pete was saying, by the end of the night, you'd have a rainbow of colors there. But you're taking your time with it, and
So maybe during Liz Reed, he starts with he starts putting top plate colors on. He's doing one plate, and then by whipping post, we got both plates going with top colors and bottom colors, and it's just like the total.
And then you've added a little bit of alcohol to the. Right? Yeah, we add some alcohol.
During the jam, you throw some alcohol in, and it kind of makes everything turn different colors and explode and bubble up, and get coagulate together.
And then he mentioned too that there would be certain songs where you'd get off the video mixing gear and get on plates with him, right? And you guys would do a duo, right, with 2 overheads.
Right. Exactly. I jump on to so he starts Liz Reed like it's the big long 15-minute jam, right? Yeah. And it's a slow building song, it's climbing a ladder musically. And then when they start to hit it, I just jump up out with him and I leave whatever's on the screen there, the mushroom video or whatever it might be, and then I jam with him. And then when they go into the drum solo, which usually was part of that song, I would then drop down and I would mix hard images to the drum solo, kind of rhythmic, boom, 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 and then he would kind of dodge out, and then we'd come back in for the end and jam together. I'd jam with my stuff, he'd jam with his for the end. So that was like a progression of the song.
So I got another question. What was the keystoning like of the overhead projectors? Because you were on the side of the stage, so you weren't straight on.
It was kind of funky, but because we could overshoot a little bit, you couldn't really tell from the audience perspective. And these projectors, once again, these are not 10K projectors.
Right.
So they're like, maybe 1,500 lumens. I mean, that was for the day.
Well, no, those overheads are like 7,000 lumens.
Well,
the metal halide.
Overheads are fine. We had a round thing on them when they just shot up there,
and so there wasn't any right. So some with the keystoning with that, it didn't. You wouldn't really notice the keystone.
What you notice is if you look at some of these old school pictures, you'll see that the left side of the screen is a little brighter than the right side of the screen.
Right.
That's basically what you're going to see. Now you might also, if metamorphic shapes, you can't, the audience can't tell that, oh, that's a little smaller bubble than that bubble over there. Because
right, especially if you're using like a lot of negative space where you're not really like if you showed the full circle, you'd see it as an oval, but you guys got more negative space, so it's kind of hiding the mask almost.
Right. So the two projectors, when we had them on side, they kind of had this kind of like, see how my hands are? They kind of look like that because they're keystoning, right?
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I kind of ran it off the top of the screen, so you really didn't see that middle part.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of looked like this opposed to that.
Yeah.
But that's what the shape of it was. And then, it kind of stretched out and stuff and looked kind of weird, but it's a psychedelic light show.
Yeah. It's a little forgiving. Yeah.
But then at one point, I actually took a piece of plywood when I got the smaller projectors that weighed less, 3,000 lumen Epsons, and I mounted them up in the truss on a piece of plywood, the two side ones and the middle one, and then ran all my cables down, and then they were perfectly square. And they weren't keystoning.
Mm-hmm. So, right. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So that was how I did that. But there's sometimes be problems with like you're not far enough back and you're not filling the screen.
Oh, so yeah. So you still see the square, and
like in a theater, theaters they're not deep.
No, I know. I've actually this is a little trick I use when I do my digital show. I'll do a vignette effect around it. You know what I mean? So even if it's not going to film, just anything to get rid of the square edge. So I'd rather just have a vignette around it, and it fits a lot better than a hard edge.
Almost all that center, when I did that center image stuff I'm talking about, the center projector, I made those videos with the black outside and the circle or an oval.
Right. So you would,
They never were square.
Right. Yeah.
Or if they were square, they were dark around the edge.
Yeah.
So I made most of that stuff in an oval or a circle. So it was always metamorphically fit inside.
Yeah. Circles fit a lot easier. And
then when we got to the bigger projectors, we just had one projector. And everything.
Right. So eventually you went to one projector, and, maybe we'll talk about on another episode, but you got the visual presenters in the 2000s, and then you're running everything through, like an MX50 or did you have a pair of MX50s or,
No, I still had the MX12.
Oh, okay.
In the rig, because what I had on that.
Oh, you just had multiple. Yeah.
Well, because I'd have the logo on that, the Allman Brothers logo on a DVD, constantly ran, right? And then that would be one track, and I'd have maybe a wild track on there of other stuff that I'd made and I could go to. Like I made a lot of logos that you could see in some of our, well, you can't see it here, but in some of the videos I took the Allman Brothers logo and made 3D animation out of it. So that all those logos were on there. On that other one, so I could have a constant. That was kind of like a centerpiece I could go to, that was also on like kind of a bang switcher, just a button switcher,
And I've seen this in some other photos. You guys, or you had, I don't know if you still have it. Was it the Korg and Trancer?
No, the Chord Captivator.
The Captivator. That's like a super rare piece of equipment. That's the one with the. Well, there's one that's like a sample player, which is cool, but it's useless now. But you also have one where you have like a touchpad and you can do effects with it, right?
No, that's different. That's the Korg Chaos Pad.
The Chaos Pad, but there's one.
No, I have the
sampler.
One for video. I have the sampler.
Oh, you got the sampler.
And what was cool about that was, and I had two of them, and I still have one. Actually, there's one in my rig right now, in out on the road.
Yeah.
The old one. Anyway, what you download like a 30-second track, right? And it would loop digitally.
Right.
So something that I had to make that videotape back in the 90s loop forever
I know.
is just now just a 30-second little piece of hard drive. So you could have like 80 tracks in there that loop.
Yeah, I mean the Chord Captivator.
Yeah, and
that's the most efficient way to do video now.
well, but the thing is, it's super low resolution.
I know. I'm
It's
teasing.
not 4K or
Yeah,
anything
I'm
like
teasing.
that,
It's always.
But yeah, it was so that
every time you think it's the best way to do something new comes
Right.
out and
Oh, right,
and,
yeah.
and shocks you. No.
that's playing on the best, right? I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was, so what I had, I don't want to get into my 90s, 2000 rig, but I had 2 Chord Captivators. I had an MX50 and I had 2 V4s, and then Pete had a V4. We had 3 V4s. So each channel in that MX50 had its own mixer in it.
Yeah.
So when I was doing that Allman Brothers show in the 2000s, I had like 18 channels or 16 channels I could mix.
Wow.
That were coming in. I had 6 DVD players that were lined up that all tracked. I had the 2 Chord Captivators, and they were all on V4s that mixed. V4 has 4 channels, another 4 channel.
Yeah.
And then the Matrix 4 channel. And then Pete had his 2 channels. He mixed liquids on the V4.
Oh, right. Yeah. He had a V4, right, and he mixed them together. Yeah.
Right.
I have a V4. I love the V4. I think it's just the way it's laid out. It's very intuitive and easy to play live. I wish it was higher resolution.
So the Korg I would use, I had a lot of really spacey little tracks I'd use, and I'd use it kind of like for like lead solos and stuff a lot.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
And then I also had not Grand VJ, but New VJ. And I had Archaeos and the New VJ, and now I have Grand VJ. So I had that too. I had a 16-inch, whatever it is, 15-inch Mac actually it was a 17-inch Mac with that New VJ controller. So that was a lot of leads on that too. That was like my lead unit.
Yeah.
Like solos, to do visuals for a guitar solo.
Yeah. We'll definitely get into the stuff, the more modern Brotherhood of Light, in another episode. You'd use a lot of, so similar to how you say you have all these channels and video mixers. You use a ton of laptops now from your rig that I've seen, and you've moved on to, if you can, you've moved on to video walls, and
right, absolutely.
We'll cover that in another episode, but I think we're finishing up here. But before we go, why don't you tell us, for the fans, tell us a cool Allman Brothers story. Tell us something cool about being on the road with the Allman Brothers.
Oh God, I'm trying to put me on the spot.
Sorry, put you on the spot here. I know that's
I wasn't expecting that. A cool Allman Brothers story. I got to think of one here. It's just let's see. Who should I go with? Well, you know what? I'm going to go back and tell, because we're back. That video was shot with Dickie Betts. Right.
Okay.
And, so you mix video, all you guys out there that do mix video, we're all like going like this all the time on our mixers and stuff. And so Dickie Betts would just do this wailing guitar solo coming off Liz Reed. And then he gets off the stage and walks over and sits right in front of me. And he's like sweating, and he's like, cleaning his nose out, and he's wiping a towel off his face. And he's just like in this manic energy, because he's just been out there just performing like a madman, right? And so now here I am, like mixing this drum solo in front of him, man, and I'm like kind of looking down at him. Am I cool, man? Don't bite my head off, dude. 'cause he's just that kind of guy, But yeah, so every night I had Dickie Betts sitting in front of me for the drum solo, man. Like right in front of me. So quite an experience. Yeah. But yeah, he's a great guy, man, and him and Greg are the reason that we got the gig. They wanted a light show. So
that's awesome
to both those guys. They made my career. So
yeah,
really cool.
Yeah.
And then Dickie's still alive, man. He comes out to the shows and I see him.
Nice.
So it's great to see him. Yeah. So anyway,
cool.
That was kind of a wild. That was every night was like that. So it was kind of. Like, we called it Fort Betts. That's where he hung out.
Well, Fort Betts.
Fort Betts, yeah.
Nice.
Fort Betts, and there I was with the big box of videotapes.
Yeah.
That you've seen in the video. Like
no.
He'd be in a chair right in front of that box.
Yeah, there's
other side.
no better way to do video than with 100 videotapes for a show.
At that time, there wasn't. Yeah, I'm telling you.
No, I'm honestly really impressed that, because I mean it's actually pretty analog. I mean, that's all hands on deck using videotapes like that. It's pretty like, yeah.
Well, I
That's
had to load them in between.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's like, the 4 tapes pop off, pull them out, have 4 more ready, pop out, go, run, go, and then bam, mix the show. You know?
Yeah.
So I mean, you learn, in when you're doing rock and roll, like I mean, Reed was talking about doing disco, or I call it disco.
Yeah.
Oh, you build
electronic
slowly,
music.
man, and you get this, and it goes up, and we're just like, the next song, go, like you got to be fast as can be, man, to get,
Oh yeah.
get your images. So it happens when the music happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially with hard rock, or you have to be.
Well, I mean, when you're in a big time rock situation, I mean, like when we were at Maritime, we would have these tapes that just constantly play,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could just fade them out if you wanted to black out in between a song or something.
Yeah.
You fade it out and then just bring it back up. It wasn't like I wanted my show to be different, every song to look different and be different and have contrast. So
yeah, I mean, at the level of like the Allman Brothers, there's a whole other level of professionalism, because now it's packaged. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing different bands every night, you can afford to be a bit more experimental. But when it's something like that, that's sold out shows, and it's band has been doing it for decades. There's a whole, things really have to come together. I mean, there's history that's built up there and everything, and
right.
you gotta,
And then sometimes the funny part about it was, they all have their independent bands. Like Greg
Right.
had an album coming out, and Warren and Derek, and they got guys they got to support a whole band and pay for tour buses. So they're touring in between Allman Brothers. Now they're all getting together, but so they're not really making new records or creating new music. And so the only thing new about the show was my light show.
right.
For a few years in the 2000s, pretty much for like 10 years. So
Right.
if I came up with something new every time, I would have to, I was trying to recreate and make new looks every year.
So how did it work with like management? Do you have to like pass stuff by? Is this sometimes you would just do whatever you wanted to?
I do. No, this is 100% me.
Nice.
I'll do whatever
Good.
I want. But,
Good.
I mean, like Bert, like the Allman Brothers mushroom, I said, send me the Allman Brothers, some artwork of that, really good quality, and send me, I want to do Eat a Peach interior album cover, which is the psychedelic. It's actually the thing right up here behind me I'm pointing at.
Mhm.
It's a big mushroom motif psychedelic world. I had to get, to go to Kinko's and have it digitized. I had to get, a letter sent from the Allman Brothers to Kinko's to do it.
Oh,
and
really?
then I made that into a whole story, a whole storybook with zooming around in it, and then I would reverse the colors on
what
it.
Kinko's wouldn't photocopy that for you?
They
Really?
wouldn't
Oh my
digitize it
God.
for me. No.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Unless you had like actual a letter from the band.
Exactly.
Wow.
So
Now you can bootleg anything now. And
well, I mean,
back
that was,
then,
they were doing a high resolution scan.
right. Yeah.
Back then.
The only thing you can't scan these days is money. If you ever try scanning money, if you ever try to scan a dollar bill, your scanner will stop it. It won't let you do it. It'll scan like half of it. Not that I'm into like, counterfeiting money or anything, but
well, I was in a copy store and the guy wouldn't want me to record my license in color.
oh
He wouldn't
wow.
let me. I don't know why,
Really?
but
Oh.
he was a stickler. Some people are like that, what I mean?
Yeah.
Stick to the rules, whatever the rules they're told by whomever,
Right.
whoever that may be, the copyright police, I guess.
Right.
But anyway, so no,
Yeah.
so Bert was cool. I mean, like Bert goes, "Hey man, put out some Bugsby Berkeley," and I was like, okay, and so I edited a bunch of Bugsby Berkeley. I never had rights to it or anything, but whatever. It probably was, okay, because it was filmed in the 1940s or something.
Oh yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. Although I have heard of like other, modern groups getting in trouble. I think somebody, I forget who it was, a couple years ago, used like John Whitney or something like that, or maybe it was like Oscar Feichinger or something that was like, pretty significant piece of, visual music history, and
Well,
they got in trouble for it.
I've had one thing happen to me, and it was we were doing this "No One Left to Run With" video. So Red Dog comes up with this idea: "Hey man, let's show Barry and Dwayne up there, because no one left to run with. They're dead right now." So so I had those tapes, and then Woody died. I had Woody up there too, and I had him playing with. I'd take the video feed from this amphitheater, and they'd be playing, or I'd take it from my camera. I have this certain shot of the band, like Derek and Warren playing lead, and then I'd mix Dwayne in the middle of it from the Fillmore East 16 millimeter. Oh, wow. So you'd see it look like Dwayne Allman is now playing with the Allman Brothers in the song "No One Left to Run With." Bring him in on the lead solo, and he'd be up there on the screen with them. So, and that, the funny thing is that I've done so many millions of light shows, but that's the one that people always comment on, or it gets press, or somebody writes about it. Oh, they had the fallen rock stars up there,
Right.
I did this John Lennon. We went to New York City. Well, let's do that. That famous shot of John Lennon with the T-shirts.
New York fucking city. Or
yeah.
whatever.
So I'm going to the Beacon. I just did it. I made a custom video for that particular show.
Yeah.
And we got a cease and desist from the photography people that sell that picture.
Oh man, really?
So this photographer comes out and meets me in a hotel room, and he goes, "Oh, you can't really run that." I go, "Yeah, we won't." He goes, "But if I get a free ticket to the show, it'll be cool." I go, "Okay." So that settled that right there,
Yeah.
Well, he came to the show, and it was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's the only time I've ever run into problems. And but if Greg would say, "Get rid of them fucking Indians up there" or something, he'd grumble about something, and that was off the screen immediately. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he didn't like something, but very rarely.
Very, very rarely. Yeah.
But he watched the screen, so he comment. He'd come and comment to me.
Yeah.
But luckily, I'm with some good guys, man, and they were, they let me be an artist, and I guess I was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
With that, to be able to do, not get, nobody ever really complained to me about anything I did. So cool. Yeah, it was. I was lucky, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, man. Hats off to you. It was an awesome run.
Yeah. What can you say? Yeah, it was. It really was a great band, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on.
Okay, well, I don't know how long this has gone. Oh, it's an hour.
Yeah.
4. Oh boy. Okay, well.
All right. Well,
now you got some editing to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll check it out.
Yeah. Okay. So what
all right.
Let me say goodbye.
So let's sign off.
Okay, we'll sign off. So goodbye, everybody. And it went a lot further than I thought, this talk.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. It was cool. It was cool to do a little bit of a deep dive and just us two talk for a little while.
Okay, cool, man. Cool. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching, and stick around. We got more episodes coming up for you.
Yeah, we got Tim Pace coming up.
Yep. All right. Later.